This is Things You Might Have Heard from the Conversation Project. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne, your host for this little snippet of news. And the Conversation Project is your home for headline news, information, and pop cultural references that are worth chatting about. And today, we have a lot to chat about overnight, a lot of action, and over the day as well. As we started off with Russian drones over Poland yesterday, rolling to news late last night, coming into Israeli airstrikes in Qatar, although there were daytime strikes for them. And the iPhone 17 happened, unveiling the new iPhone Air and other great things that you'll spend your money on because we're humans. Of course, five other stories, and three of them are Trump adjacent because Trump was pretty busy yesterday as well. We'll get into all those and much, much more for this day, today being the 10th day of September, 2025. Remind you real quick that our website, this is a conversationproject.com, is our home for all the stuff. All the things, all the stuff, all the what's not. So find out more about what we do, how we do it, and of course, maybe visit our partners and sponsorship pages at the website. This is conversationproject.com. And one spotlight sponsor we want to talk about right now is Ground News. We are highlighting them most of the time lately, but we highlight them because they actually are a great partner with us, and we're glad to be part with them. You can get 40% off their plans of news. They get great news coverage, and we get a small commission for using our link. This is the conversationproject.com/ground news. So let's get into it. It is, as I said, September the 10th, 2025. Fall is definitely here. The weather is working up, although it's still hurricane season, oddly enough. And we shall see great things happen in the news. We'll see what you guys want to talk about in 8 stories right here. And we're having issues with the slides. Sorry about that. Not knowing why you're not actually responding. Let's try. Because the dialog box is open. Thank you very much. Now, back to normal. No issues here. We have our first story where there actually are issues, and they may have some real implications around the nation here, around the world in general, and dealing with our current war with Hamas and Israel, which we're going to call a war. Qatar actually is now surveying some devastation after damage from Israeli airstrikes to Hamas leaders in Doha. Israel is striking Qatar, and Qatar is condemning the strikes that Israel put out in Doha that targeted Hamas political leadership as they are weighing the U.S.-backed Gaza ceasefire proposals, calling it blatant violation of sovereignty. Basically, because Qatar is the go-between between Hamas and Israel in the actual peace dealings, if we call it that. There are Hamas leaders in Qatar, and Hamas was targeted by Israel. The targets are with several deaths, including some lower-ranking Hamas members. Hamas says some top members have survived, but it's going back and forth with these things. Israel said they got the targets. Hamas says they didn't. Now, here's where things get really, really interesting. Qatar is hosting Hamas members, terrorists, because they are trying to negotiate some sort of ceasefire and some sort of ending of the war that's going on in Gaza right now. The big issue is Israel doesn't really want this to happen. So they're striking the leaders in essentially residential neighborhoods, not in any bunkers, not in any military bases, in the middle of town. And that's where things get really haywire. For a while, so schools were kind of panicked and people were going about their day, not so much. So this little tiny nation in the Middle East, which basically prides itself on being able to get along with everybody and have more security places there, including a nice security base for the United States to operate out of, is issuing some issues. Diplomatic district that raises a question about how Israeli munitions are basically going in the airspace, essentially not showing off at bases and not showing off at actual enemies, but inside of things going on. Washington signaled that it was notified really shortly before the strike. Like as it was going on, it's like, yeah, Trump, we're going to hit Qatar in 10 minutes. And so the timelines aren't disputed on what was known. If you knew it earlier, I guess Trump would probably have warned Qataris so they can do that, because they do that a lot. They basically say, we're going to bomb somebody next week and we'll tell them so that everybody can save face. There's no saving face in this one, as Qatar is wondering whether it wants to really be the go-between between Hamas and Israel going forward, which means if there's no go-between, there's no real chance of actually ending the unrest, we'll call it this time, in Qatar or in Gaza over Qatar. Meanwhile, Kyiv says multiple Russian-shaped drones actually crossed into Poland's airspace over overnight barrage a day ago. And Warsaw later confirmed that it shot down some drones. Poland's prime minister labeled the incursion as an act of aggression, with NATO partners assisting air defenses and air policing for the area. Now, Reuters and AP reported on the violations that they were mostly serious airspace breaches, and the most serious airspace breaches since the full-scale war began. And so this is hiding some regional risk going on. In Poland, there were things where airports were shut down and schools weren't in session. They might have been much cooler in Qatar. In Poland, they weren't so. Airports halted, searches of all places going on. No mass casualties reported in Poland, but it was a serious issue where the drones and drone debris fell near airports. The Poland airspace violation adds urgency to allied discussions on what to do with Ukraine and the risk that's going on there, because the big issue with Ukraine is that when Ukraine is gone, then other NATO nations are now open for something with Russian aggression. Why should Russians stop with Ukraine? Because they want it. We will see how these things play out, because we will watch these. Let me preface this story by saying this is technically Biden's fault. This is Biden's economy we're looking at, with the job numbers being overstated by 911,000 in the latest government revision. Now, what happens in these stories, these surveys, they actually take a quick survey, they look at it, and then they take some time to let it settle in, let it marinate, let it come to pass, and then look at numbers and see how things work with a revision to make sure things are more current when they have more data to look at. Now, in this case, the BLS, who had the leader fired because Trump said the data was bogus, had a preliminary benchmark that shows that U.S. added 911 fewer jobs from April 2024 to March 2025 than initially reported. So weaker momentum as stated. Jobs revisions average monthly gains dropped from roughly 71,000 to job gains were roughly dropped to 71,000. They were not the 147,000 as they originally thought they were. Now, like I said, this covers April 2024 to March 2025, and a good chunk of that time was not Trump time. So that's what you need to look at this one. A lot of this time was really the Biden economy. So it was Biden's economies on the tail end, not doing as well as we thought it was, which is fine. But this is not so much a sort of a knock against Trump's work so far. However, jobs still were going down. Jobs were still not being created as quickly in the beginning months of the Trump administration as Trump would lead you to believe. It appears to be the largest such revision on record and lands amid already soft monthly points. The big issues are Donald Trump says these numbers are bogus, they're fake, they're just trying to make them look bad, when in actuality, they were already looking bad before. It just shows that he's not doing as great as he says he is. Now, if you want to believe that he's doing as great as he says he is, that is fine. You should also get independent research, as the BLS is an independent body that researches these things and is not Trump looking over the ledgers and counting numbers on its own. The mayor's race in Boston is heating up, as this may be sort of a national referendum on how things are going to work out. Josh Kraft has advanced to be a big thorn in the side to incumbent Michelle Wu, who's already a thorn in the side of Donald J. Trump. The preliminary looks like Mayor Michelle Wu will have a big shot against a big shot, Josh Kraft. Josh Kraft is the son of Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, so he has lots of Kraft money. And he spent heavily to build his name ID and finish second to Wu in the upcoming, basically in the primaries. So local outlets are reporting this is record level preliminary spending for the area, and campaign framing around a public safety, affordability, and downtown recovery will have a lot of money poured into the actual running of the campaigns. Will it actually make some difference when the people are voting and they have the choice? We shall see who did it. There's other folks who are still lined up in the running with possibilities, but Wu is entering this with the commanding base and the incumbency benefits that you get from having the person. The winner's advantage. The Kraft name is bringing in a lot of broader appeal and some big runway with a lot of cash. The AP Fed vote reporting shows that Wu and Kraft were ahead of the rest of the field by leaps and bounds. So essentially, it's a two-way race, although other folks are still named in there because they have to be. They are essentially the seventh and eighth person in the race for the Olympic gold medal. No one will care later on, but they were in the rankings that are in history. We'll see as we watch Boston come up with their new mayor's race and what happens there. And what will happen there may be a sign of what's happening across the nation. politically. Need to ask for your assistance, needs to ask for your help, need to ask you to like what's going on right here because hopefully you like what we're doing. We put a lot of effort, a lot of work, we've done a lot of adjusting for this program in the 4 or 5 years we've been doing it. We've been doing it for quite some time, even with the headaches and the breaks and the whole tornado breaking of things. But we are trying to do our best to give you conversation news stories and do something to keep my news chops and keep me from going insane with what I call pretty much bland news coverage on all the networks because they have to follow the masters. I'm independent to a point, but not independent to the point where I'm fully sufficient in what I need. So help me out. Need you to like the videos you're watching so that we can get more engagement, more people. And if you see more engagement on YouTube, it's actually paying me some point coins. So like it on YouTube, like it on Facebook, like on X. Share it with like-minded people so I get more viewers there, more people engaging with us. And if you're not getting this one directly into your feeds by yourself because it got shared to you by the algorithms or by a share, subscribe so you get to it. The biggest thing about the likes is not only does it help the algorithms share it with the people, it also helps me know that I'm doing okay. If you tell me it's good, I'll do more of it. If you give me good comments, I'll do more of it. Give me nasty, insane comments, I'll probably do more of it just to get more comments because that means more engagement. Like, share, and subscribe to help us grow the Conversation Project, help us grow this show here, things you might have heard, and help us keep going with all the more bitter media stuffs. Trump stories, Trump adjacent stories, 3 of them, and then we have a nice Apple story to get to. The judge has blocked Trump's attempt to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. Now, U.S. District Judge Ajia Cobb has granted an injunction keeping Lisa Cook on the Fed board while her lawsuit proceeds because the for cause thing. For cause is the issue on basically that she has some possible mortgage fraud in her past, and it's in her past. It's something they didn't prosecute her for, and she didn't do it while being a Fed chair. So the cause is not she did bad things while she's here. She did bad things in the past. She got away with it, but we found out. So now we should prosecute it. That should actually mean something to a guy like Donald Trump, but let's move on with that part. Lisa Cook's ruling arrives a week before the Fed's rate meeting, which expects to have a Fed rate cut, which is basically what the administration has been looking for. And they're going to do it now because the conditions basically warrant it, not because Trump just so said, I should get Fed cuts because they're great. More money, more money, more money. Justice Department probe is cited by the White House does not by itself justify the removal. So that means the judge indicated that Cook can stay in the job until something bigger is there. The for cause issue is there. For now, Cook participates fully in policy decisions, so she will be a vote for this week when we figure out whether we're going to cut these rates or not. She still has a say. Oh, about that contract for El Salvador prison storage for our bad guys. Trump administration, based on some newly filed court documentations, has to release, or now we know, that it's $4.7 million the U.S. agreed to pay El Salvador to the CCOP mega prison to detain deported migrants for up to a year. $4.7 million, $4.7 million a year. Investigators say the El Salvador prison contract restricts spending on legal aid and DEI programs and followed U.S. deportations contested in federal court. So not only are they housing people, they literally can't spend money on lawyers and nice things for them. They can't. Groups' rights are suing the administration and are calling CCOT conditions abusive and a deadly, seriously unconstitutional thing. Yeah, related piece by AP basically shows earlier litigation on the fact. Essentially, as soon as they started just grabbing people in the air, putting bags on heads, and taking down CCOT in a very, very, very made for TV appearance, the lawsuit started. Case filings and prior reporting of the policies arc the March transfers that drew the human rights scrutiny on the get-go. The prison agreement is now central evidence to a broader fight over outsourcing U.S. detention beyond domestic oversight. Is it because we don't have enough space? Oh, well, have the prison complex build more space, except to build more space for, domestic people who could use more programs to keep them out of jail. No, we're going to send people to places they've never been before or places that are really, really bad because they're bad people or they have tattoos, mostly because they have tattoos and they speak Spanish. That's kind of how it works. Meanwhile, Trump dines in public in DC to show how safe the streets are. Donald Trump staged the dinner at Joe's Seafood near the White House, 2 blocks from the White House, to tout a federal crime crackdown he says made DC safer. And so Trump walks down the street. He goes to with his boys, his posse, JD Vance, and then all the guys are there at a steakhouse or a seafood house, where because he has Secret Service protection and it's only 2 blocks away from the White House, he feels safe. He's showing people you should feel safe. And of course, the sense it's set up because he can't just show up for dinner someplace. They have to do a sweep of the restaurant at his front head and basically send out the people they don't like and basically send out everybody. So it's kind of a private dinner with Trump and his boys. But he feels safe at a seafood house 2 blocks from his house, which is surrounded by Secret Service and military details and things like that. Not that things don't happen near and around the mall on occasion, but let's actually put an actual frame around this that makes total sense. Local and national outlets are framing the dinner as political theater. The local authorities are saying once Trump's crackdown is over, they will deal with the future dealings, how things will work out once they're past, the National Guard doing landscaping around schools in DC. But for the most part, Trump is showing that DC is safer because I, Donald Trump, who has Secret Service protection, yes, I got people shot at me twice, but I have protection. We've got military. We can, bomb the hell out of people who want to do bad things. But I can walk down the street and go to Joe's Seafood with my boys, me and JD, hanging out. And finally, iPhone has teased up, or Apple has teased up, and iPhone is delivering what it hopes is the next best thing to get money out of your pocket. The iPhone 17 and the first ever iPhone Air. The Air, let's start with that one, $999. Not too bad of a price. The 5.6 millimeter thin model is alongside the other iPhone lineups going out there. The iPhone Air keeps top tier performance claims, while still seeming pretty good, while having that slim design. The standard 17 model will see a camera and battery storage bumps because it's got larger space into it. The Pro and the Pro Max move to the A19 Pro Silicon with performance and efficiency gains. That's all the nerd stuff out there. But providers will get your chances what you want for. Providers will have it on sale pretty quickly. You can get your pre-order in right now, and you can buy it in the stores about September 19th. Accessories will include AirPods Pro 3, Apple Watch Series 11, and some new help tools installed in that one. So check it out. If you're an iPhone nut and must have the biggest one, get $1,000 ready for the Air, or get a little bit more for the Pro or the Pro Max, or a little bit less for the regular iPhone 17. But it's here. It's now. It's time. It's 17, and I think there've only been 15, maybe 14 years of actual iPhones. They've skipped some numbers. It's because it's cool. But if you're ready for that brand new iPhone, be ready to pay some money. Be ready to get that contract extended, and be ready to be on the dime for Apple for a little bit longer. We are glad to be on the dime with Ground News. Ground News is our great supporter, a great sponsor, and a great tool we actually use every single day for our coverage. It's something we're very proud of. And we're so proud to be a part of their family. We went out and searched for them to be a sponsor when we, get in the bandwagon, because all the other news folks were talking about, hey, we went with Ground News, so we did as well. We're glad that they allow us into the program. We are good enough to be a part of their group, which is really, really cool. Now, let's talk about Ground News in the fact of what it is. Ground News is a website. It's an app. It's a service that checks the news for you in better ways. How's better ways, you say? Well, it's simple. They allow you to see side-by-side comparisons of headlines and of some of the news beats that are insider stories from various different sources. So if you are a conservative-minded news reader, you can see what the liberals are talking about. Same back and forth for the liberals. If you sign up for some of their larger plans, you get more detailed news. If you sign up for something like the Vantage plans, which gives you a whole lot of news, you can actually get access to their blind spot features. Will give you a nice swath, basically a heat map of what stories are being covered exclusively, overly exclusive, if you will, by certain styles of media, certain vendors, certain silos, if you will. If you're a blue person, you can see what the red people are actually talking about that you don't see. If you're a red person, vice versa. You can get better news and do what's actual research, because people talk about doing research. This is research. This is reading into the enemy camps and seeing what they're providing, so you can see if what they're providing, you can be provided, is fair or you just want to blame the other folks for lying. You can do that as well. It's all good. It's all fine. It's all liable. We just want you to make sure you get the best news possible and understand how different venues are slanting it news. They all slant it differently. Some are like the AP, you may agree may be corrupt, but the AP and the wire searches are basically making it as free and clear as possible so other folks can add their flavor to it. You can see what's going on there as well. It's very simple. It's very easy. You can check it out at this is conversationproject.com/ground news. This is a conversationproject.com/ground news. We are glad to be part of Ground News, and Ground News is going to help you out with 40% off their plans. Their basic plan gives you news for less than $1 a month. Their Vantage plan is less than $10 a month for all the great features, and we get a small commission back from that one. We thank you in advance for visiting any of our sponsors or considering being a partner, and we also thank you for checking out Ground News. We have wrapped it up for this day. This has been the things you might not have heard for Wednesday, September 9th, 2025. Thank you so much for Gilbert, Glenn, and Chris for popping in on the live feed. So much for being about that and giving us some comments. Gilbert, Glenn in Knoxville. Love Knoxville, love Tennessee. Great place to be. And we are going to do more of the stuff for you. So give me comments, give me likes, give me shares. Let me know what we're doing well so we can do more of it weller. Let me know what we're doing not so well so we can do less of it as well. Or some words to effect. Love it. You guys, awesome. Love you guys as well. Mean it. We're going to come back. Hopefully, not so much of a crazy, delirious Wednesday, but assuming that the world does not blow up and there's not extra strikes and after attacks, and we're not at war with somebody officially tomorrow, we'll have time to do another Thursday edition to talk some things about iPhones and Trump going to dinner, because it is kind of about conversational things, not just the big top headlines, not just the big smacky news, but some of the things that are really worthy of scratching your head and saying, that happened. And that happened. And what will happen tomorrow? Go to the feeds on Facebook and X and engage in stories so we know what will happen in our news coverage here for things you might have heard tomorrow.